this, shut up. Watch this, shut up. Watch this, shut up.
The first duty of government is to protect its citizens.
An American shield consisting of interceptor missiles, which are supposed to protect the US from a potential nuclear threat.
Every place you've ever lived, every address, everything you've ever owned.
The Chinese need to be exposed and challenged about this. This is being done with the full knowledge and full consent of the Chinese government and the Chinese military.
It's the most contaminated place on the planet.
Does not torture people. You know, we stick to U.S. law and our international obligations.
Gallons of crude oil poured into the sea, making an oil slick 5 miles long.
And companies buy and sell your information, not just in the United States, but around the world.
Abuse and torture have been problems for years, but the government has done little to stop it. They concluded that over a 3-year period, the area of rainforest destroyed was thousands of square kilometers bigger than previously thought.
Instead of relying on watch lists and databases that have created some headaches for the TSA.
These ground-based US defensive missiles could soon be stationed in Eastern Europe, right on Russia's doorstep.
Every time you've been sued, all of that information is collected.
The agency that lost the personal details of every family in the country when it put 2 discs in the internal post.
Has been charged with sanctioning the dumping of tens of millions of cubic meters of liquid radioactive waste into this river over a 3-year period.
The Chinese military lags far behind America's forces, which is one reason it's embracing asymmetric warfare.
Up to 200,000 people are recently displaced, fleeing the fighting from Mogadishu, just north of here. And the hospital records of 55 patients from Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital were found dumped in a wheelie bin.
And in the Democratic Republic of Congo, some of those wearing blue helmets were accused of rape in 2005.
The government is not listening in on domestic telephone conversations among ordinary Americans.
That we require member states to ensure that there was no procurement from North Korea of anything on those missile programs.
Well, the Antarctic Peninsula has warmed up faster than the global average. No one's sure exactly why.
Last year, the Federal Trade Commission received over 635,000 complaints of consumer fraud and identity theft.
There's a shortage of more than 4 million health professionals in nearly 60 countries around the world, the report says.
Moscow has repeatedly warned Washington not to go through with its so-called missile defense shield and is now stepping up the pressure.
Exploring ways to attack an opponent by crippling their information systems.
And peacekeepers in the Ivory Coast were accused of having sex with underage girls.
What they call a race-neutral profiling program in the country's busiest airport.
On the 6th of December, the Driver and Vehicle Agency in Northern Ireland lost the details of 6,000 drivers.
It's the world's second largest emitter of greenhouse gases.
And once you're in, there's no way out.
They arrived at court today after already pleading guilty for their part in creating a malicious program called the TK Worm.
Did a government spy agency obtain the phone records of millions of Americans as part of the war on terror?
Tons of dangerous chemicals were dumped into the river by the explosion 12 days ago. That's about 10 tanker loads of toxic substances.
As a matter of fact, why don't you cooperate with us on missile defense system?
Computer disk with the personal details of 160,000 children was lost by the City and Hackney Primary Care Trust.
The Foreign Office is said to be the latest victim, with its computer systems disrupted, and says unless America backs off, there'll be a new arms race.
It ended. But the people of the Czech Republic don't have to choose between being a friend of the United States or a friend with Russia. You can be both.
Just last year, official figures suggested they killed more than 2,000 people.
Information on 3 million candidates for the driving theory test were lost at a processing center in Iowa in the United States.
Never had a job, owned a home, rented a car, gone to college, used a credit card, or paid a bill. You're in a database.
Threatens to target his missiles on Europe.
A gash in the vessel's hull allowed 50,000 gallons of oil to leak into the sea.
Asking city and state leaders to sign a pledge that they won't confiscate guns in times of emergency.
Мы хотим, чтобы была понятна наша позиция.
If this does not happen, then we will withdraw any responsibility for our retaliatory measures.
China's reaction has been terse. We are not the hackers, this country says.
In Liberia last year, young women told the BBC they'd been abused by UN peacekeepers and had their babies.
A potential European plan that would offer Iran incentives in return for giving up uranium enrichment. He said Europeans apparently believe they're dealing with, quote, 4-year-olds.
8 days, Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney has led the state through its worst flooding in more than 70 years.
Thank you.
For a period of months, it spread through the internet to thousands of computers worldwide, including the US Department of Defense.
Systemic failure was the admission today from the new man in charge.
But if the virus starts spreading between humans, then the prospect of a global epidemic becomes much greater.
Last week, Russia tested a new ballistic missile, its answer to America's missile shield.
The People's Liberation Army, which is at the very centre of the allegations, won't say a word.
Iran's president said yet again today that his country will not stop enriching uranium.
That means they are melting 1.6 times faster than in the 1990s and 6 times faster than in the 1980s.
This is a war on human rights. This is a war on civil liberties.
A man was sexually assaulted with a stick. An attack filmed by the police themselves and sent to his friends as a warning.
Why did you hack into their systems?
I was looking for evidence of suppressed technology, particularly to do with free energy, the device by which we wouldn't have to rely on oil and so-called dirty fuels to provide our energy.
We're already in World War III.